Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Pool Pro Podcast. However, we are going to change the name of the Pool Pro Podcast in the future. It's going to be the Modern Pool Pro Podcast. There's another podcast out there that's that's called the Pool Professionals Podcast, and we don't want to confuse the two. So we're going to switch it up a little bit, which is okay because we're reinventing ourselves anyway with this new, with us coming out with a new host and all that stuff. So hey, why not change the name? So in the future, you will see it as the Modern Pool Pro Podcast, and we're excited about that. I'm really excited about
Now,
my guest. Huh?
now, if somebody is a subscriber on YouTube,
Yes.
will it still be the same link, or will they have to resubscribe?
Nope. Same link.
All right, doesn't sound bad at all
I
then.
just changed the page. I'm just going to change the page name. But yep, the same link. Absolutely.
All right, so the subscribers that are already there are still going to be there. That's what
They
counts.
are. Absolutely. That's what counts. And we pretty much have this as a YouTube show for now. I'm going to release it, but I want to change some of the things up a little bit before I release it out onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio and all that kind of stuff. So it's not out there currently, but it will be in the future. Right now, it's just on YouTube, which is good because you can listen to it or you can watch it. So we meet all needs. Whatever somebody wants,
Hey,
we got.
I don't know if you heard about this down in the U.S., but apparently Spotify Canada just won um, a huge lawsuit against the Canadian Revenue Agency. Because the CRA wanted to go in. They wanted like all of their subscribers. They wanted their sign up dates, their expiry dates. They wanted their bank account information, like all sorts of stuff. And Spotify said, "Hey, listen, not happening." They took it to court, and the judge said, "Hey, you know what, Spotify, you're right. They're pigs. They want way too much information. Not going to happen."
Good.
So,
I'm glad about that.
oh yeah, well, I mean, it's all Fourth Amendment for you guys, right, in the U.S.
Yeah.
to be secure in your
Yes.
papers and documents. So, yeah,
There you go.
Spotify's sticking up for that.
This is going to be an interesting episode because I love this topic, and it's a topic that people talk about, but we're going to take it from a little bit of a different angle. I think we'll give some examples, and then I'm going to test Rob on what he thinks about this because I'm not the one out there actually doing the work in the field. You guys know that. I'm more on the education side, on the business side. So I sit behind my computer while you guys are out actually doing the service calls. So when I see something that's based on theory, it's not
Donkey.
based on practice. So you know what I'm talking about. And Rob's keeps me grounded with that kind of stuff. Because if I say something, he's like, "That's not how we do it." Then hey, I take it back.
Uh, I try to keep everybody honest. Me number one. That's where it starts.
Right,
So,
exactly. So we're gonna talk about
so what
customers
are we
today.
going to talk about?
We're gonna talk about customers who cross the line. The ones that are difficult customers, the ones that cross the line and do things that, you know, push your buttons or maybe turn you to anger or whatever might happen. That could be via, in the field, on site, on phone, on text, via email, on social media. They may have left you a bad review. We just had one of those situations here where somebody left a bad review at the tiny home property. They drove by and then they left a review on Google that said, "Looks run down. I would never put my tiny home there." And it's like, we have three construction projects and rain and crazy storms that have been tearing us up, but yet they drove by with no context and put that out on Google where people are going to see that. And that's just bullshit. Excuse my language, but it is.
Well, no, but it's not fair to the people who are running the place. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure
they
they're
don't even
doing
live here.
everything they could possibly do. You're living in there. You're happy in there.
Yes.
So I mean, one doesn't marry with the other. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went out and reported the comment because, that's what I do. I can't comment on it myself, but I reported it as unhelpful because it's not helpful to the overall business. It doesn't actually help, the people that potentially are thinking about living here. It doesn't do anything for them. It's one time in history when you drove by for 5 minutes and it just happened to look, run down because we have three construction projects and crazy stuff. So that's what I did. But this is going to be interesting, Rob. But tell me something that's happened for you this week in the field. What's been going on? Some stories you can share.
Well, we had two customer feedback issues, and I'm pretty much as laid back as I can possibly be as far as these things go. Uh, but the problem is, these people came out of the gate from the wrong angle, and that really rubs me the wrong way. And when people rub me the wrong way, I'm the easiest guy to get along with. Rub me the wrong way, man, and it's like, bye bye. So the first guy, um, basically sent us an email saying, I've been opening up my swimming pool for 15 years. I've never had a problem. You guys screwed up the closing, and that's why there's a problem with my opening because there's probably a broken pipe underground, and I hope it's not that because I'm an insurance guy. I've been doing insurance for years and years, and I know how these things go, and it's going to be bad on you, and it's going to cost you a ton of money. It's like, okay, well, this guy's been with us for years and years. I mean, like, I've actually bought my insurance through him like almost 30 years ago. Like, I know this guy, you know what I mean? Um, so I said, well, try this, try this, try this, because I'm one of those guys, man. I try to be helpful and I try to resolve it over the phone. It's like, if you do this, 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 and it doesn't work, then you're going to have to pay me to come out and take a look at it. All right.
Right.
So I don't just automatically boom, service call, see you tomorrow. I try and resolve it over the phone, let them try and do it for free. And if it doesn't happen, then I take that step. So in this particular case, he tried all the things that I suggested. Nothing was working, couldn't get his pump to prime. So I said, well, I'm out of solutions. You're going to have to get me out there for a service call. Now, of course, if I wasn't able to resolve the situation, I probably wouldn't charge them the service call anyway, because I like to be fair with my clients.
Right.
I went out there, I get to the skimmer, and I mean, it all starts at the skimmer, right? That's where the water gets to the pump. I look inside the skimmer, and Num Num has the little trap door blocking the port that feeds the skimmer, or the port that feeds the pump, and not the port that feeds the bottom drain. So basically, he's got the water shut off at the skimmer. So I stick my
Oh,
hand in there, I turn the trap door, the pump primes up like a champ. So I'm out of there in, I mean, maybe 45 seconds, right? I charge
did
him the service call. It's like, I'm
what did
sorry,
he
but there's a
say?
cost for being
Did he
stupid.
feel stupid? Did he feel stupid?
Oh, I made him feel stupid. That's another one of the gifts that I've been bestowed with. Like I say, when he came out of the gate saying, "You guys broke this, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right," no, I'm sorry, you get full wrath, Rob. And I told him, "Hey, listen, you know what? If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it." Well, I've been doing it for 15 years. Yeah, well, you know what? If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it, because this was an easy solution that you physically screwed up. They had nothing to do with us. So anyway, that one was resolved. He's still a client of ours, but I told him, in the future, come out a little bit softer, because as you can tell, it's not always somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
The other one was an older lady. And of course, we try and treat our older people with a little bit more respect and a little bit more
Yes.
courtesy and a little bit more patience, because the frustration comes easy after being on this planet for 60, 70 years. You know what I mean? So when they call up, we try to kind of nurse them along. But again, she came right out of the gate. It's like, my swimming pool is green, and you guys need to show up here tomorrow to fix what you screwed up, or else.
Wow.
So the office actually handled this one. They phoned her up and they said, well, when we went there to balance the swimming pool, we left you recommendations of stuff to do. Did you do that? Oh, no, I never read any of that stuff. So it's like, okay, so you don't do what you're supposed to do. It's not our fault. So
Yeah.
again, being an older customer, we said, well, try doing the stuff that we recommended. Sure enough, instantly resolved. you know, but it's like your approach, right? And we all try and assert dominance at some point or another. I mean, that's just the way we are as human beings. We all try to assert that dominance to try and get results done. In the swimming pool industry, we have a horrible reputation for taking advantage of customers and stuff like that. And I'm trying my best to get past this, but people make it really, really hard to get through this. Um, but again, those are two situations there that we were able to come to a happy conclusion. Everybody's happy, everybody's pool's running, and that's where we stand. But again, if you're going to talk to your pool guy with a little bit of respect, because we are the professionals, right?
Yeah.
Just because we understand something, and it happens a lot when I try and explain stuff, it's like right over top of the head. right?
Yeah,
Because you're not a pool person, I am a pool person. So the way I'm explaining it is if I'm talking to a pool technician, as opposed to just, some person with a great big wet spot in the backyard.
right.
All right. So there's that difference in communication. So we have to really work on that as far as I'm concerned, communicating stuff better to the customers, because when we have a breakdown in communication, misunderstandings like this happen.
They do. And that's the number one reason that customers are dissatisfied in every single industry is lack of communication. That's the number one.
Uh,
So
I
if
believe
you're
it.
not clear and have the clarity up front, number one, with how you approach getting the service of getting a client, how you talk to them and what your expectations are and what you're setting up at the very beginning makes a difference, because that's the thing they're going to remember always is how you when you got them as a client, what you said and how you said it. And if you've had them for a million years, it might make sense to even reiterate what the expectations are on both sides, either with a contract if you have a contract, or like a contract renewal, or if you don't have a contract, then maybe some sort of email or written document that basically says what the expectations are on both sides. Because I think if you're more clear on that up front, then when these kinds of issues come up, you go right back to what the expectations are and what your services the services you're providing and what you're going to do and what they're going to do, kind of thing. I think it's important to do that. Just like you had it in writing, Rob, what you're expecting her to do once you leave, that you can always fall back on and go back to, which is exactly what you did.
Yeah, so I mean, whenever we go to a swimming pool, even though it's just a balance of the swimming pool water, we
Yeah.
look at everything. If you have a leak here, call the office, set up a service call to get this resolved, because a small leak is a big leak. If the pump's not sounding right, call the office. So the whole idea is that we're trying to help these people out, but the industry is set. It's like, oh no, you're trying to generate service call after service call after service call. It's like, no, when you walk in there and you have water shooting 5 feet across the room, you've got to know that that's not right. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, our balance technicians are not, they're not qualified or equipped to deal with actual service issues. So their job is to balance the water, note anything that's out of the normal, and make that comment or recommendation to call for service to get it resolved by somebody who knows what they're doing, which in this case is me.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, but I mean, we don't actually deal with contracts. We don't have contracts for any of our pools or customers, clients, nothing. We don't deal with contracts because we're Canadian, so we very trustworthy people. um, So, I've never found it necessary to have contracts. And every time that we talk to people, that are under a contract with another company, they are aching to get out of the contract, but there's no escape clause. So we don't feel that we need to put our thumb on top of people, right? We deal in goodwill, right? If there's a problem, call us, we'll come out. If it's something that we should have done or could have done, then we won't charge you for it. If it's a legitimate service call where anybody would have charged to fix, like let's say you had a hose explode, right? Well, I mean, that's not a maintenance thing, that's just one of those things happen. We'll charge for the service call and the parts, but that's about it. You know what I mean? And everybody else would have done that as well. But a lot of times I get called to these swimming pools. It's like, I don't seem to have good enough flow if coming from my jacks. Well, you go there and you do an assessment. It's like, well, yeah, because your pump is on lowest speed. You know what I mean? Turn it up, you have better flow. So something like that is like, no, pay me when I actually do some work, and we let them off the hook with just like an education. So
That's where you and I disagree on this, because I'm a believer in contracts and I understand that. And some of the different guests I've had on in the past with the Pool Pro podcast have, we covered very exclusively the types of contracts that you should have and your expectations, including when you're going to show up and when you're not going to show up, emergency situations, all that type of stuff. I completely get it. That I think it depends on your company and how you do things. I think you're right. You already have a relationship established with your customers that you've had forever. But I think there's some, in the US, you know how it is, we're all sue happy down here. I feel like we don't want to discourage contracts because I think that that's a good thing. It doesn't have to be a complicated contract. And I'm also a believer that you have a 30-day out. My independent contractor contract has the 30-day out. You can get out of the contract in 30 days if you put it in writing. I don't ever want to hold somebody into one of my contracts if they're not interested in continuing to do business with me. That would not be good on my part. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like,
I
yeah, you
do.
have to have an out, but I'm a believer in contracts because you have the clear expectations up front and then you follow up with those. And I think that, but again, it depends on how your business is set up. And if you like to do business the way Rob does, I completely get that too. I'm not saying you have to have it, but I'm a believer in contracts.
Right. And, and I mean, contracts have a place. It's a cover your ass situation, right?
Yeah.
You've got to protect yourself, and a contract does that. Absolutely. The reason that we don't use contracts is because I'd say probably 95% or 90% of my company is based on water balancing, which is like super hard to screw up and mess up. There is no actual recourse or anything like that. So I never felt that there was a need for a contract because, like you say, if
Yeah.
somebody's not happy, I don't want them to feel that I got them under my thumb, right? So that's one of the reasons that I don't like contracts. And to be quite honest with you, we've got about 500 clients. Out of the 500 clients, there's maybe 20, 25 that are brand new every season. Like we have very small rollovers. So these people have been with us for like 10 years plus.
Yeah.
Okay. When somebody says that they want to leave our program, we encourage it. Yeah, go, bye, go, right? We'll see you in a month. Because a lot of people use that argument. It's like, well, I haven't really had any water problems for like the last 5 years. So I'm going to try and do it myself because it's obviously not that complicated. It's like, well, okay, you came to us because your pool was a swamp for the last 5 years. The 5 years that we've taken care of it, the water's been perfectly crystal clear, blue, and swimmable, right? And now you want to do it on your own, which is why you came to us in the first place. So, by all means, go ahead out there. And the thing is, I'd say we probably have a 90% return rate on people who want to do it themselves because after a couple of weeks, their water is absolute and
Yeah.
they need to get back on that program.
I hear you. So what would you, let's talk about what we would do if you're in the, and then this, think about just you're not your own experience, Rob, but even like the other experiences too, because you don't do the, the weekly service or anything. But if you're in the backyard and somebody approaches you, a customer, your customer approaches you and says some horrible shit, does something mean, says something mean, comes at you or something, I would like to be able to give advice to those listeners or those who are watching on what to do in that situation. For me, I'm a big believer in starting with myself. I'm trying not to react. I try to stay calm in those situations. And I was like, I think I had told you guys this before at the National Swimming Pool Foundation. I was the one they sent all the unhappy customer calls to because I was really good at staying calm and making them feel heard and making them feel like we care, which we did. I wasn't making that up. And making them feel like we got your back. I'm going to take care of you. We got this taken care of, and I'm going to handle it. And and they were always very happy with the results of those conversations. So I feel like I'm pretty good about that type of thing.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? I mean, if I say to somebody and I stay calm, if somebody comes at me, I was like, okay, um, let's figure out what's going on here. And I want to provide the best service I possibly can for you. But it's hard to do when we're at this, we're escalating at this level or, it becomes disrespectful. I kind of feel like starting with that makes sense. But what do you think?
Usually I just scream, I've got COVID, and they run back in the house. No, seriously though, I have uh, a gift of being able to converse with people. Like I joke around a little bit, but what you're saying is essentially the customer just wants to be heard. So I will listen to their entire speech, no matter how relevant it is or not relevant it is. It's like, oh yeah, like I checked the rotation on my tires and my tire was mounted backwards. It's like, okay, it's got nothing to do with your swimming pool, but I see where you see where you're going with this, you know. And by listening to the customer, you can resolve most of the problems right there and then just by listening. They
Yeah.
just want somebody to listen to them.
Yeah.
Most of the times when you phone a full company, it's going to be, yeah, we'll send somebody out. It'll cost you a service call. Just listen to the problem, you
Yes.
know? And by listening to the problem, for starters, it takes away a lot of the steam that they've got built up over the situation. Because to me, it might be an absolute nothing thing. To them, it might be like mission critical. It's like, like the rocket's going to explode. But you have to listen to what their stuff is. Now, 90% of the time you can disregard 90% of what they say, right? Because somewhere in that whole conversation, they're going to drop out the vital information that you need to be able to figure out the problem. So, yeah,
I hear
just
you.
listen to your customers.
And I think it's also important to recognize that a lot of times when people just spew this kind of stuff, it has nothing to do with you. It's whatever's going on in their life. There's something that's happening that in their life that's causing them to act that way. And 99% of the time it has nothing to do with you or your service. It's just you happen to be there and they see you and
Yeah,
they're
you're
like, okay,
standing in
here's the
front of
person
them.
I can take it out on.
Yeah, yeah, you're just standing in front of them. It's like
Yeah.
you're a pool guy. What are you going to do?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I do think that it's important to have boundaries with people because you should not put up with being treated like crap, even by your own customers. So I feel like if somebody comes at you in a way that's aggressive or whatever, stay calm and just say, "Hey, I'd love to be able to resolve this problem," and maybe listen first, like Rob suggested, listen to what they're saying. But if they're continuing to be aggressive or whatever with you, then I say walk away. I'll say, I'd love to be able to resolve this and provide service. We value your service, but I think we may have to resolve this at another time when it's a little more, when we both calm down or something, however you want to say that. That's kind of how I feel. You have to like set a boundary and walk away because you don't want to get caught in a bad situation.
well, I mean, in all the years that I've been doing this, I've only ever had one person tell me to get the fuck out of the backyard. And you guys can bleep that, obviously. But that's literally what he said. We were called there, or I was sent there to hook up all of his equipment. I get there, the pump is running, the spa is running, the heater's running. It's like, why am I here?
Yeah.
And the customer's like, well, I wanted you to hook up my equipment. It's like, well, the equipment's all hooked up, everything is all running. Yeah, but I don't think it's hooked up right. And it's like, yeah, okay, but I'm here for this, and you're telling me it's this. And that's when he told me to get out of the backyard. And it's like, hey, listen, deep breath.
Yeah.
I'm here to try and help you, right? I'm going to help you as best I can. If you want me to leave, I'm out of here. Not a problem. When you can't figure this out or you can't resolve it, I'm not going to hold it against you. Give us a call. We'd be happy to come back. There's no charge for my visit today, right? Because there's obviously a misunderstanding. So
Yeah.
once we get our information clear, let us know. We're happy to go back. Since that day, he's been a client. He's
You got him.
got
You got
everything
him with that
together.
one,
Yeah. Well, what can I say? What can I
Rob.
say?
Okay.
He's happy.
Well, that's good. I like the way you resolve those situations. Um, I was going to talk to. I took a little bit of notes, and that's what I'm looking at when I look to the left. But as far as again, those of you who are interested in a contract, I'm happy to send you my template that I have that I actually had somebody develop for me, a service person who owned a business. So I'm happy to send that to you. Just comment below, like and comment below, and I'll connect with you, and then I'll send you the link or send you the contract. And it does have a communication clause in the contract that basically talks about kind of like what I was saying about how you're gonna what the expectations are, how you're gonna communicate and when there's need for more intervention, if you will, that kind of thing. So kind of respectful conversation. You're more than welcome to have access to that, and then you can just do with it as you will. Um, let's talk about online reviews though. Have you ever had any negative online reviews, Rob?
I believe at one point I had one, and it wasn't necessarily a negative review, but it was like so bizarre, I just discounted it. I The review came in something like, "I've never dealt with this company, but it just seems impossible that they only get 5-star reviews. So I'm leaving a one in order to even it out." It's like,
Oh my god. Are you
It's like,
serious?
yeah, it's like what in the absolute hell, you know? Like, I mean, I bust my buttons trying to make everybody happy, and some numpty comes along and says, "Well, you know, like that just doesn't sound right to me."
That is not okay. That's like, do people realize that they're screwing with businesses when they do stupid crap like that? If you're listening to this and you're somebody who get by, we all buy services and have people that provide services to us. Please don't do that. Don't go out and do that kind of stuff because that hurts businesses when you do that. And if you don't have a legitimate reason for filing a complaint or something like that, don't go out and do that stupid crap. Excuse me, but that's the truth.
Well, I mean, obviously that review was completely unfounded,
Yeah,
and and they
exactly.
admitted it in the review. So, I mean, when I disputed it, it's like read the review and you will understand what my dispute is, right?
Yes.
But on the other side of it, as you know, I do a lot of traveling as far as the teaching goes and stuff. I stay in a lot of hotels, resorts. I stay all over the place, around the world. And I leave reviews on TripAdvisor. I leave reviews on Google. And, it's as stupid as it sounds, influencer. Go figure. No, I'm serious. Like
I know, I believe you.
when I got my hearing aids, okay? And yeah, I do wear hearing well, I own hearing aids. I don't really wear them. But when I got them, I left a review for the hearing aid place. And they phoned me up and they said, "What did you do?" Yeah, it's like, well, what do you mean? What did I do? I left a review for you guys. I mean, you were awesome. You got me in. You didn't charge me for the exam. You got me set up with the hearing aids. Like all of my issues that were there, you addressed. So yeah, I left you a 5-star review. He says we normally get like 8 to 12 phone calls a day. After you posted that review, we got closer to 70 calls a day.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's like who knew, right? So it's like,
Do they
well,
give
I
you a
don't know
percentage
whether
of
to say
sales
you're
now?
no, but I mean, I didn't know whether to say I'm sorry or you're welcome. I was kind of left out on that.
I
But
love
no,
that.
I mean, whenever I go places, if the place is good, I leave an honest review. If the place is bad, I leave an honest review. It's as simple as
Me
that.
too. I don't do it as often as I should because I used to do it a lot more. I always take pictures. If I love some food that I'm at a restaurant, I take a photo of it. I put it up on there, and I have done that too. And people have looked at my reviews. I've done a few of that, but I don't do it as often as I used to. So when I was traveling more, in my camper
Yeah,
and
well, I
stuff, I
mean,
was
you
leaving more
you
reviews.
kids do take pictures of your food and post that.
I do.
I mean,
I do.
us us older folks, we stick to the basic stuff. It's like, oh, they ran out of really good gin at the bar. Uh, we had to
You're
drink the
like,
house
yeah.
gin, which is basically, uh, uh, I had a brain fart there, but we tried. Older folks, we emphasize on different stuff.
Yes, I get it. You keep saying us older folks. I'm definitely in your category, Rob. So we're one and the
You are
same.
not in my category.
I
You're just a
am.
puppy.
Yes. Nope, it's not true. I was gonna say though that you definitely want to respond to negative comments because people look at that. And so even if somebody leaves a nasty comment on Google or Yelp or wherever, you can respond to it in a respectful way and don't be defensive, just respond, in a and people actually appreciate that and I actually have a lot of respect for a business owner who goes out and responds to a negative comment in a very professional manner. I actually have a lot of respect for that. And that makes me think highly of them if they do it. So I would definitely respond to all comments, good or bad, and thank people for great comments and make sure that that those people are heard. And again, we as consumers can look at those comments and see when somebody's just a jerk face. You know what I mean? Like they leave a nasty review and it just like this
Jerk
person's an idiot.
face. Oh my
You
goodness.
a doo-doo head or a jerk face.
Well, I mean, in this particular case, I did respond to the actual person. I mean, I never heard anything back after that. But I said something along the lines of, "Was like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry you never got the opportunity to experience the quality of our services. If you ever
Yeah.
get a swimming pool, by all means, give us a shot. We'll make you a 5-star review."
That's such a good response, Rob. I love that. That's awesome. I mean, that's a good response.
Thank you.
That's
That's
how
the
you
beer
do it.
talking.
See, that's why Rob's awesome as a co-host because he knows what he's talking about, and that's a great example of how to respond to something like that. Um, I was gonna say too, again, if you want to have a copy of that service agreement that I have, I just like and like this episode and respond in the comments, and I'll contact you and I'll get you a copy of that contract. Also, I wanted to mention in regards to contracts because this has helped with the communication side and everything. The Contracts Council is a service. I don't know if you can get it in Canada, Rob, but you can in
I've
the
never
US.
even
I'm
heard of
assuming
it.
you can. It's actually and I've used it. It's you go there and you can actually put in a job. You put in a job, you upload your contract, you put in a job, and then lawyers in your area will bid on that job for you, and then you can get somebody to review contracts for you, and don't go pay the lawyer prices that you would normally have to pay. I've used them for my independent contractor agreement, and including the tiny home that I purchased here. I used it for that as well because I drafted it, which you can use Chat GPT to do a lot of these things, but don't just take what they have and put it in a piece of paper and get somebody to sign it. You have to have somebody that's official, just like you guys are the experts in pool. You need somebody that's an expert in contracts to review those contracts. You don't want to do that on your own. But the nice thing about the
Interesting.
Contracts Council is that they'll bid on the job, so you don't have to. And you go out and review all the bids that come in, and then you pick the one you want. And it's a lot cheaper than getting a regular lawyer in the U.S. And I do that with all of my contracts. If you look in the show notes for this and the notes of this particular episode, the link to the Contracts Council is in there, and they're all over the US. So you can get a lawyer in your area to review any contracts that you have. So just an FYI on how to utilize that service because I think that's important.
That's super interesting. I'd never even heard of that before. Now, I have had somebody say to me, like if you go to the local university, you can get somebody who's going through law to review this, right? Because they're basically like a legal assistant. You can get them to review your contracts, and it's going to be a fraction of the price of hiring a lawyer because
Yeah.
these guys are going after their ticket.
Yeah. I think when I did my last contract review, I think it was only like $250. And that is for them to review. And then you can go back and there's like a certain number of communications that you have and revisions or whatever. And I think I only pay, like I said, $250 for the whole thing, which I think is a good price for something that's, a lot of money. You want to make sure you're protected. And the come to find
Nice.
out, I had them review it, and I was in favor. The contract was in my favor and not the other person's. And I'm like, dang it. I just paid, and I gotta let now I have to switch it up to actually give them more protection. I'm like, boo, but follow the law, man. You gotta do what you gotta do. So I think that's good. So thanks so much for this. I think that your two stories were helpful, and also the way you responded to that review, Rob. I think is a great way to provide an example for folks. But and I know Rob doesn't like the word mindset, but when you realize that it's like a lot of the stuff that you go into in those situations, you have to kind of start here because we could respond to those. And I did this in the past. I was pretty nasty in the past. I know this is hard for you to believe, Rob, but I used to say some pretty mean shit. So I have done a lot of growth since then.
Yes, you must have, because I have never known you to say anything on the negative. You've always been like just a blooming bouquet of roses all the time that I've ever dealt with you. So,
Whatever. Anyway, as far as the only place that I struggle still is with, like I said before, driving. I still have some aggressive driving that I'm trying to get rid of, but I just somehow, for some reason, I can't get past the mindset of that the person's, you know, intentionally trying to irritate me, which I know, logically it doesn't make sense. But when I'm driving, I feel like, how dare you do that to me? Or, like those kinds of stuff. And it's like, I'm really trying to work on that because it's all in my head. So,
well, you see, if you do or don't know, I drove transport for probably 10 to 12 years. And in that time, I saw an awful lot of stuff happen on the road. And
yeah,
I convinced myself, okay, if I'm sitting in here, no matter what you've done, if I'm screaming at my windshield, it's better than me pulling out a baseball bat.
100%.
So take your frustrations out. I mean, don't worry about being an aggressive driver. Scream at the windshield, pound your fist on the dash, get it out of your system, because that's the better way to handle it than actually getting into a confrontation.
Yes, 100% agree. And in Texas, you got to be careful. I'm in Texas, man. They'll shoot your ass on the road. You got to be careful down here. You don't play.
Yep.
So I'm like,
True.
nope, I'm out. I'm not going to get myself in trouble. Um, and then what we have coming forward. So I wanted to get we're going to do some great episodes on employees. We have things coming up like episodes on how to handle employees, hiring stuff, how to handle, look at the cat. The cat's losing his mind back there. How to handle employees, things like that. And then we're going to have some great guests coming up as well. So, it's exciting. I'm happy to have you, Rob. So glad you're back after last week when you're gone, but I understand you're busy and I get it. So
Well,
hopefully you'll be.
next week, I just set myself up a meeting um, with a major supplier in the pool industry.
Oh,
I'm going down to meet with them on Thursday because I had this brilliant, brilliant multi-million dollar idea, and we're going to try and put something on paper. Uh, and I mean, do I want the money part of it? Absolutely. Who wouldn't, right?
yeah.
However, this is going to save pool owners tens of thousands of dollars for a very small investment.
Wow.
And now I just have to meet with that person. We'll talk about it. We'll set it all up. And I've dealt with this guy for a few years. I know I can trust him wholeheartedly. And I think this is going to turn out to be a really freaking big thing. So,
Wow. Nice
so
teaser that
next
you're leaving us with.
next Thursday, Friday, I will be out of town for this high level meeting. I might even wear a clean shirt, not this chlorine screwed one.
Yes. Well, and hopefully we'll do some live episodes. If we do end up seeing each other in September, August, or whenever we're talking about, maybe we'll do some episodes together in person instead of on Zoom or on this StreamYard here.
Yeah, well, I mean, even with, I think what we should do is maybe, consider both of us being on our own individual laptops, so we still have the partition, right? But we can, have the backdrop as the Caribbean Ocean.
I know. And we could just be sitting next to each other and then we could go, "Hey," and I'll go on your camera and you can be like, "Hey," and I'll go on your camera. Who knows? That'll be funny.
Well, I'm sure we'll figure out something,
We will.
and
And
I think that'd
I
be
want to challenge
awesome.
everybody. Yes, it's going to be great. I want to challenge everybody. If there's one thing that you're doing in your business, one thing, just think of one thing you're doing in your business that you shouldn't be doing, that you should be delegating to somebody else, but you do it because it's easier that you do it than trying to explain it to somebody else, or you think you're the only one that could do it as well as anybody else. Just think about that and maybe try to delegate this week or come up with a solution or an automation that can help you with that. Because I know many of us
Work,
in our small businesses are doing 1,000 things that we probably shouldn't be doing. And it's keeping us from doing the stuff that we should be focusing on, which is, either
work,
strategic or, trying to grow your business or hire somebody or whatever it may be. Let's just challenge ourselves this week. That one thing you are doing right now that you should not be doing,
working.
delegate that to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? What'd
Yep.
you
Oh
say,
yeah,
Rob?
working.
Oh, working. I'm with you
Hey,
on that, actually.
I'll
If I
tell
can
you,
make,
at my age, I've started telling my customers, if you see me lying on the deck of your pool and I'm not adjusting an eyeball for your return, phone 911.
yes, I think that we should still have a pool party at Rob's house this summer, but whatever.
Hey, I just had one this afternoon.
I
My
know.
technicians finished their day early. My liner went in, and it was an absolute bear of a liner, I have to admit. Um, Once I got the old liner out, the entire back end of the pool was all blown out. They had built it on clay. The clay was shifting. The concrete was thin. It was leaching water out. I mean, it was an absolute mess. But I got the liner in. I got the water in. Everything looks beautiful. Customer is impressed and happy. So we sat around my pool drinking beer, and one of my customers showed up to pay her invoice, so she sat around. We
I
had
love
some
that.
homemade beef jerky. We had a conversation. And then, I don't know, somebody is having a heart attack or something. She had to run away. She's a paramedic. So
Okay.
she had to run off with a mouthful of my smoked beef jerky.
You should record that. That'd be a fun thing to put on a video.
Hell no. You
No,
kidding?
not gonna do it.
I put a video up yesterday about me getting molested by my dog every time I swim in the damn pool.
I saw it.
So, yeah, I think I'm up
We're
to
like
6
so far off
comments now.
topic at this point, guys. We're like talking about Rob's dog now. Like we're way off topic. But thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for continuing to come back. Please like and subscribe. Share with somebody that you think would be interested. And we will have some great episodes coming up in the future. And thanks very much. Look at my challenge.
A new voice in the industry, a resource for all, education for you. This is Pool Pro Podcast. Build relationships and share important news as we get ready for our next backyard adventure. Pool Pro Podcast. Backyard adventures are better together. Please take a moment to share, like, and review our content with all of those that would be interested.